But both should be right. So much. Yeah. How do you yeah. When approaches did she take care of it was in like right there. Does he? Okay. That's kind of like my own. You're at 800. I don't know. I think it's like Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Short. I know that's like I'm not saying I didn't either. It's still playing. Oh, it's not. Yes. I almost he was like, all right, so all your Sorry, I was like, it's gotta be more than that. I mean, I don't know about going on to see it yet. I don't know about the studio. Yes. There might only be that. Kind of the other way next to so it's just like a little like I say that one. Yeah. That's really wow. Here now. Yeah. That's too easy whenever yeah, I noticed that to touch it. If you want me to sit down now. Yeah. Yep. I was stationed there. I got this back seat right in one of those. Of the box. Amazing. Back in the day, sort of was.
Not bad.
I haven't tried to put some man talk out. They gotta climb them on. Destroy the target. Yeah. And then they do it. Just. Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna send. That's okay. That's okay. Let's fast forward. Look at the fast forward. Let's get started. All those airplanes. A lot of these. This whole show right here. That's good. I gotta go. What do you think about you think about your career? Yeah. I mean, we'll talk about it. That poor guy, he's gonna be a high rate. Good. Oh, of course, they always got a heater out there.
So, and, we actually, funded the NHS.
Well, great. That is some shadow. I mean, they're lucky to even have everything floated out these days. Especially with the political climate. I'm just speaking. Okay, we can. I think. Well, good morning. I'm sure I'm your favorite lecturer today because I know you were expecting to have the day off. So we'll make this fun, and we will not hopefully have anybody fall asleep on this lecture because it is part of the circadian rhythm. That's all right. All right, here's the lecture overview. We're going to talk about how awesome I am. History of a little bit of the history of aviation safety. What is the circadian rhythm? We'll talk about that and its importance. Then if we have some time, I'll talk about the future of aviation, as far as artificial intelligence, and just have conversations and stuff. And then we'll wrap it up with a conclusion. So we'll be out of here right on time, if not early, so that should make you happy. All right, who here is the airport manager candidates? 1, 2, 2, 3. Okay. Well, then I'll try to talk to you guys and not put you guys to sleep either. So there's only going to probably be maybe 1 or 2 facts in here that Dr. Kelly might put into a test or later on, but I'll try to make sure I stomp my foot on that one, so, and we're not, you know, it's not high mass stuff, so it's gonna be. So. Go ahead. Oh, yeah. All right, my name is retired Major David Bradford, 25 years United States Air Force. I'm also an AP mechanic, flight engineer. Does anybody know what those are? A real flight engineer is not a math engineer, but an actual flying engineer. That's what I did. I did that for about 8 years. I also have a commercial pilot license with all of the little things behind it. I'm also a retired Air Force commander, aircraft commander, not necessarily a commander. I'm also a flew the 747-400. Yes.
What did a flight engineer do?
Flight engineer does takeoff performance data. It does all electrical. It does all pneumatics, fuel balance. It was replaced by the FMS. So, you know, nowadays it's, you know, we've been replaced by a box. Right? So it is what it is. Technology is a wonderful thing, I guess. But I got to fly with one, which was kind of nice because they also did the pre-flight too. So you just walk out. You know what they say? How many pilots would take to a flight plan? All of them. Because you know, then the flight engineer does all the pre-flight. All right. Continuing on flight safety. I'm also a Embraer instructor pilot. And of course, on the side too, also a private pilot. F-15E, C-141, C-130, HC-130P, which is a rescue airplane. Therefore, I have my gold, or not my gold feet, but my little green feet for rescue. So if you see somebody running around with little green feet around, they're a rescue. So just a little tidbit. The ME-300, which is the T1, I believe, KC-135R, and of course the 747-200, and I think I flew the 100 briefly. So, but nothing more than that. Okay. All right, history of aviation safety. The good news is there's not been a single fatality crash in the United States since 2009. Pretty impressive. I mean, there's been people that die in flight, but it's not because of the operation of the airplane. And you look at that graph right there, you'll see, I think there was a little blip right there, and that might have been it was one of the mechanics got injured pretty badly. So, okay. Accidents by phases of flight. Takeoffs and landings are statistically more dangerous, especially the landings. And that they do attribute to 49% of all fatal accidents. That's worldwide. While 14% of the fatal accidents happen during takeoff and initial climb. Can anybody hazard a guess why it's more dangerous to land than it is to take off? That is right, because you're at that low energy state. You're coming in, you're slow, you got everything configured out. And if you need to go around, you might lose an engine. That's why in the sim, you know, you pilot candidates, you're going to be doing a lot of approaches to touching those and stuff. You're not going to be doing too many departures. Those are pretty simple. Right. Okay. Another slide. I'll just let you look at it. Accidents by phases of flight, pretty much what I just said. All right, this is an interesting little chart here. You guys got good vision. I'll give you a freedom buck if you can pick out what the error on that chart is. It's about halfway down. You come through the Atlantic Ocean. I had to scratch my head about that one. It's actually, I figure it's the Caribbean countries out there. So, and the reason why, historically, the blue line on the United States is because we pretty much pioneered aviation. So that makes sense. Okay. Types of injuries. And again, you can see that there's not that much black on there. This is that one little blip. I think that was a mechanic. It got hurt pretty bad. So they, accidents do happen, but statistically, though, that's probably the safest way to get to and from a place is to fly. So that's it with that one. Next, please. Now I'd like to talk about auto deaths. Now, you know what they say, it's more dangerous to drive to the airport than actually get on the plane. And this next slide will show you that. And unfortunately, it's only trending upward. And I have a feeling it has to do with a little bit of the technology that you guys hold in your hand. You get distracted, a little bit of road rage going on. We're driving in Memphis, drive around in Memphis. St. Louis is actually not too bad, I don't think, but. Uh-oh, did I say something bad? Somebody from Memphis? Okay. All right, can anybody raise a hand and just tell me briefly within 3 words, what is the circadian cycle? What does that have to do with? Freedom book. Go ahead.
I would say the sleep schedule.
Yeah. Yay! I didn't think that. I tell you, I went out this last weekend, and of course with the time change and everything, I was lucky I didn't oversleep today. So I'm a little bit under the weather myself, not contagious or nothing, but just tired. All right, it's the 24-hour internal clock that regulates your alertness and sleepiness by the light changes. And that's also a really important thing to know, because once your eyes see light, you guys talked about the eye last week. As soon as it sees light, it pops your brain awake. So when you start flying internationally, it's very, 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 very important to make sure that if you do have to go to sleep, you blank out. Not a single inch of light comes into your room, and that goes to anybody really, because it takes 1 day per time zone to adjust. So, like myself, you end up in Hong Kong, come home to a family, they're running around. Before you know it, you're ready to go insane. But what I'm just saying is, it's a 24-hour internal clock, and it's just more of a just a gee whiz slide. Any questions on that one? Okay. I pulled this one up, kind of reinforces what I was talking about. Noon being high noon, it doesn't matter what time zone you're in, as long as it's high noon. You get best coordination at 2:30. Apparently there's something that happens at 22:30, which is, I guess, a good thing. Your deepest sleep is at 2 in the morning, and then your blood pressure goes up. So if you have to ever take a physical, do it in the afternoon. If they take your blood pressure and it's spiked, you're gonna have problems. Okay. Circadian sleep and its importance. Burn it through this pretty quick. It's very important to keep a cycle, especially when you're studying. The human person is the only organism in the world that puts off sleep. Yeah. My dog will sit beside me and just and bark and scare me. In fact, on a little funny side note, I was coming out here today. I don't know how she got it, but she went through 2 doors and got into the back of my 400 to sleep. I think she was gonna go to the park or something. But no, she could sleep at a drop of a hat, I wish I could do that, and I bet you guys wish you could do it too. But it's just a side note. It's important, it prepares your body for expected changes in the environment. For times to eat, sleep, and also diet. We'll talk about briefly a little bit about how to improve your sleep if you're not sleeping well. If you have time at the end. So it has to do with diet and all kinds of silliness. So we'll have so much time at the end. I'm not going to keep you, but we can talk about it. All right, you can read as well as I can. So keeping a constant rhythm of go to school, go eat, cutting out the, the caffeine or any other adult beverage that you're allowed to have. Closing your eyes exactly at the same time and forcing yourself to go to sleep will save your life someday. Because you're gonna get old like me. And you're gonna be like, oh, it's gonna get hard. But I've been trying to, practice this also, especially during the daylight savings time change. It's almost impossible for me now. But you guys are young enough. I bet you guys can sleep 10 hours and not even bat an eye at it. So good for you. And I'll nobody's sleeping right now. Go ahead. All right, there's a thing called the sleep cycle. I kind of stumbled upon this because it was like an Edison moment of the light bulb going off in my head. Right before the daylight savings time, I was taking naps for 90 minutes at a time. I was like 90 minutes, 1.5 hours, almost to the second. Because I'm going to school myself, and I was just like, I'm tired, take a nap, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I'll stop for 90 minutes. Well, typically, to have a healthy lifestyle, your body requires 5 to 6 cycles a day. So that equates to what's 7, 8 hours, something like that. I used to be able to do the math quick. So if you can even fit in a combat nap, which I like to call it, that's what the special forces do. They go out and take a nap for 90 minutes, and they're up and about, and they're ready to go, and they're good for 8 to 10 hours. But again, a combat nap never replaces a good night's sleep. So just wanted to drive that one home. Go ahead. Here's the cycles. You're awake. Takes just a few minutes in a perfect world to go to sleep. Then you go into REM, and that's your dreaming phase. Okay. And if you notice that graph there, your REM is not until the end of each sleep cycle. And that's how you're able to remember your dreams. So it's like, oh yeah. If you really want a crazy dream, eat peanut butter before you go to sleep. I did that once, twice, 3 times. And after that, you got stage 1, stage 2. And then you have your what they consider a deep sleep. And within your deep sleep, it does, compress less and less and less as the night goes on. So I wouldn't beat yourself up if you only get 6 hours of sleep, as long as you get deep sleep. So, and then, and if you need to, take a combat nap, but just not in the next 20 minutes. So go ahead. All right, who knows what sleep apnea is? Okay, go ahead. What is it?
It means you can't like fully breathe in your sleep,
Mhm.
so then you don't get any wake yourself up, so you don't actually get deep sleep.
Right. Yep. Now, let me ask you this, if you get diagnosed with sleep apnea, can you fly with that commercially?
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to carry a little box with you everywhere you go. And then that little box provides positive pressure, and it keeps your vocal, your snoring down to a minimum. Now, there's a lot of other technologies out there. No, don't do them. But, you know, it's like, oh, I need to get surgery for it. Really think about not doing that. I have sleep apnea, but I never got a surgery for it. But also, I don't travel around the world either anymore. So I'm just saying is get it diagnosed, get treated. It kills a lot of people. Sleep apnea does. They go to sleep and they just don't wake up. So that's just kind of the scary part of sleep apnea, not getting a good night's sleep. But you can fly with it. So that's just my 2 cents on that one. All right, here's my story. As you're well aware, I'm pretty good at telling stories. When I flew in the 141 as a flight engineer, you know, sitting sideways, it'd be at night. We're coming in from like Hong Kong or Hawaii, 2 o'clock in the morning. And you guys heard you know what white noise is, right? Well, there's a lot of white noise on a military airplane, especially that one. Well, they pulled the throttles back. You're about 30 minutes out from landing. Well, guess what? That's about halfway through their combat nap. I mean, I've had 2 pilots fall asleep on me. And I had to smack them above the shoulders and ears to wake them back up. And of course, I've kind of been known to do that too. Allegedly, right? Also, the early morning arrivals. Another story was on a 747 over to China. Once you come out of India into China, there ain't a single light on the ground. And you're up 6 miles. I mean, you're like, oof. You know, I know Dr. Kelly talked about the eye a little bit, and I think my only add to that was, you know, you get the black hole effect. It starts tumbling your ear, and you don't know which way's up, which way's down. The only thing you can see, if you're lucky, you can see the stars, you know, something nice to look at. But yeah, I've had, it's allowed to sleep on commercial airplanes as a pilot, excuse me. So the captain was like, hey, Dave, I want to take a nap. Got it. So I got the radios of the airplane. The engineer, you know, he's doing his engineering thing. And so I put some music in, and there's nothing on the radios either. I mean, there's just nothing. And just I'm sitting there going, I look, the captain's asleep. And the funny part was I turn around and the engineer is hanging off the straps. Like this. So I had a good laugh, and I guess that woke me up enough to get down safely. Obviously I did because I'm here. Yep. Boredom and fatigue happens. Go ahead. All right, here's a little video. I think it's 4 minutes long, which is perfect timing.
Soaring demand for air travel, you just heard it, amid a pilot shortage. Well, that's just a problem for passengers. But it's not just a problem for passengers, it's also a problem and taking a toll for those who get you from point A to point B. That friendly voice that tells you how you're going to get from point A to point B, they're tired. Pilots with Southwest and Delta have complained publicly that pilot fatigue is on the rise. Federal law limits flying time to 30 hours each week while requiring at least 9 hours rest between trips. But pilots say the disruptions to the schedule are wearing them out before they hit those benchmarks. The concern is that air safety is being compromised. Now, here to talk about that, we've got Glenn Gonzalez. He's the founder of Jet. It's a North Carolina-based company that sells ownership stakes in private jets. Now, Glenn, air travel is back to pre-pandemic levels, but the airlines say they don't have enough pilots to handle this increased traffic. How did we get here?
Yeah, it's really been a challenge, and in large part, a lot of the age 65 rule. The airlines during COVID, they reduced the number of pilots on staff and tried to cut the staffing and wages that they had for those individuals.
Now, what I'm not understanding quite here is that there are federal guidelines for this, but what I just read says that the pilots are getting tired before they even reach those benchmarks. So what is it about the disruptions and their flying that maybe makes those benchmarks at this time inadequate and the pilots are getting tired before they reach them?
Yeah, it's a busy time for a lot of our pilots. They're tremendous professionals. They're working hard day in and day out. But when you have changes in your schedule, when things don't typically go the way that you want them, it makes for a frustrating day. When you have changes in the schedule, you might be going to Minneapolis at one point, and then that changes to Houston 3 hours later. There's still work that needs to be done by those crew members. So it makes for a challenging experience. The pilots are very much type A personalities more times than not. They just want to get the job done. And it's fatiguing when you're delayed or you have people complaining. No one wants to have that experience all day long.
Well, certainly, you mentioned people not getting the things they want. Southwest pilots, they picketed last week in Dallas to draw attention to fatigue in the cockpit and to ask for higher wages. The union president says it's going to take at least a decade to hire enough pilots. Is there anything that can be done in the near term? Because I don't think we want to deal with this travel situation for 10 years.
Yeah, it is a significant challenge, both in commercial as well as in private aviation. The main thing that needs to be done is we really need to give some thought to the age 65 rule. 50, 60, it's the old 40. So people are much healthier in their 60s. It definitely makes great sense to make some adjustments to that. Other things that we can do is on the front end of the pilot training, we've got to find a way to reduce the cost of training. In addition to that, though, we can also make sure that we are controlling the number of hours that people have. Pilots are showing up far more skilled than they were in years past. So a pilot showing up with 1,500 or 2,500 hours can be equally as capable as a pilot who shows up with 500 to 700 hours. Lastly, we should give some consideration to the evolving technology that we have. The Air Force and the militaries around the world have been flying unmanned systems. Not saying that we should have pilotless cockpits, but we could definitely transition into a single pilot platform.
Glenn Gonzalez is the founder of Jetted. And Glenn, I checked your website. You're hiring. Are you having trouble bringing people in?
You know, it's always a challenge to bring great people in. Our challenge isn't necessarily the numbers, it's just making sure they're the great fit for our company culture.
All right, one word answer here, Glenn. Pilot fatigue. Are we safe getting on planes? Yes or no?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, that is Glenn Gonzalez from Jetted, based in North Carolina. Glenn, thank you for your time.
Great. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on.
Any questions on that at all? It's pretty much reinforces everything I talked about so far. So we don't have much more time left. We'll talk about future improvements and other technologies. We'll just briefly talk about this. You know, he talked about the additional automation in the cockpit. There's some airlines pushing to go back to the one pilot cockpit. But yeah.
What was your rule as to who had to stay awake? Was it like one person?
No, well, it's on a three person cockpit, which or flight deck, which you don't see anymore. It's usually one has to stay awake, then one can nap. Good question. Anybody else? All right, so we're talking about automation that helps with the sleep, put the autopilot on. Just don't overfly your destination. So that's happened. You can't get a hold of them, and all of a sudden you got an F-16 on your left wingtip. Shooting flares at you, trying to wake you up. That's not happened to me. Yeah. Then you got artificial intelligence. There was it was this year, F-16 at Edwards, I think. in California, they plugged in the computer into the F-16. And the thing went full Terminator on the other guy, and they had to shut it down. So, because at that time, Arnold Schwarzenegger flying that F-16, he didn't care about bending the airplane. And he also didn't have any sense of self-preservation. But luckily he had a kill switch on it. So that's a little plug for AI. One person flight deck, I think that's been beat up pretty good. Worldwide standards and medical requirements. They're pretty much universal. If you have an FAA medical class 1, you're good to go anywhere you go to fly. Typically, if you can pass an FAA class 1, you can go fly for Emirates and make the big bucks or Aviation or stuff like that. Okay, but you ain't gonna have a life. I mean, you're gonna be over there all the time. And this is the big thing too. I tell you what, if it wasn't for English being the primary aviation language, guess what? I would not be a pilot. But on a side note, if you're flying over like in Europe and you go into France, guess what happens if you say bonjour over the radio when you first check in? They're not required to talk to you in English anymore. Right. And then there's also a bad thing too, is I don't like the fact that they converse in different languages. Very rarely you do, because you lose your situational awareness. There's a guy in front of me, 1,000 feet above me, coming straight at me. Now if he's talking in Spanish or French or whatever, you have no idea until that radar advisory pops up and you have to climb or descend. So that's my 2 cents on that. Yes. All ATC sounds the same. I think I've only ran across one guy out of Washington, and he sounded like Dr. Demento. And I know you guys don't know who that is, but I just thought it was kind of funny. You'll pick up. I don't know why, but they all sound the same. All right, some parting thoughts from me. Life lessons that I've had. If you see a problem, fix it. Just fix it. Don't drag your feet on it, fix it. It's so much easier just to get it done. You're there, fix it. It's gonna save you a lot of time. Next is, that's okay. Air traffic controllers, they can only assist, they can't fix what your problem is. So it goes down to aviate, fly the airplane, navigate, and then of course communicate. Any questions on that? You've all heard that before, right? Of course, yeah. And then finally, I'm gonna make you watch this. This will be testable. Go ahead. I have a good laugh.
Going back, it is first slide. Nothing but it's just that we're better than you. Hey, Marie, I'm open. Each like slave. Bring me my nap on a silver platter. We just went to the church on the drinks we ordered. Oh, sorry. Back. I guess I'll go back to. Hey, we're coming for your buddy. You're picking me up. Can you please go over there?
Here's a great example of CRM coming up.
Whatever happened to the separation of the classes? Yeah, sure, this whole democracy thing is just a bad. We're good. Finance, slightly consumers. Skipper, look. Analysis. It looks like a small thing to disinvolve. Design to indicate something out of the ordinance, like about function. I find it pretty and somewhat hypnotic. That too, sir. Right. Rika, manual. We lost engine 1. Engine 2 is no longer on fire. Buckle up, boys. This might get hairy. Attention, this is your captain speaking. I've got good news and bad news. The good news is we'll be landing immediately. Bad news is we're crash landing. What you think everything went. Sorry, well, fun when you rent the arms for pizza. Sorry, I always have.
That'd be me.
Or a big book. Or the beach.
Goodness, doll, you're shaking like a leaf. You've had your fun. Hold on. You down.
Listen to this.
Get me now, you just want to kiss the ground, just a little peck, and smooch like you're kissing your sister. Now just a little break, just a time. Learn this, I believe that's camping. Emergency landing procedure, left up, come on.
All right. Next to the last slide, I think. All right, give each other a hand. Thank you for attending. Hope you had fun and entertaining. Get out there and have a great Veterans Day weekend. And stay safe and have a good future